The desert winds blew hard across the dry land. Dust swirled in the air like spirits lost in time. Leo, a human explorer, pulled his scarf over his mouth and kept walking through the hot sands. He was tired, sunburned, and ready to leave this lifeless planet. He had searched for weeks and found nothing but rocks, bones, and old metal scraps. Everyone had told him this place was dead, but he had hoped for more. Now his hope was running out. As he reached a broken hill of sand and stone, he dropped his bag and sat down. The sun was setting, and shadows stretched across the land like dark fingers. He looked up at the red sky and sighed. Another wasted day, he muttered. Just then, he heard footsteps behind him, slow, soft, but clear. He turned around quickly and froze. There, standing just a few steps away, was a girl. She wasn't human. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and silver. She wore a long cloak, torn at the edges, and had glowing tattoos across her arms. She didn't speak, just stared at him with unreadable eyes. In her hands, she held something. Leo stood up slowly, unsure what to say. Who are you?" he asked, but she didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer and held out the object she carried. It was a map, but not made of paper. It floated in her hands like light and dust, shapes moving across it like tiny stars. Leo's eyes widened. The symbols looked ancient, alien, yet somehow familiar. The map shimmered and pointed in one direction, toward the horizon. The girl looked at Leo and nodded once, then she turned and began to walk. Leo didn't know why, but he followed. Something deep in his chest told him this was important. More important than anything he had come here for. They walked in silence as the stars came out. The temperature dropped, but neither of them stopped. Hours passed before the sand thinned and turned to stone. Ahead, Leo saw it, a dark shape rising out of the ground. It was a pyramid, but not like the ones on Earth. This one was black and covered in vines of glowing metal. It looked older than time itself, buried halfway in the sand. The map in the girl's hand vanished as they reached its base. She walked up to a smooth wall and placed her hand on it. Nothing happened. Then she stepped back and looked at Leo. He understood somehow that he had to touch it. Nervously, he stepped forward and placed his hand on the wall. The moment he did, a pulse ran through his fingers. The wall lit up with blue lines and symbols. The ground shook, and a deep rumble filled the air. Leo stepped back as a hidden door opened slowly, sand pouring out like water. A warm breeze came from within, carrying a strange scent, like old metal and flowers. The girl looked at him again, this time with something close to fear, or maybe respect. She walked inside without a word, disappearing into the shadows. Leo hesitated. Every instinct told him to run, but curiosity was stronger than fear. He took a deep breath and stepped through the door. The air inside was heavy and warm. The walls glowed faintly, showing carvings of stars, ships, and creatures with both human and alien features. The hallway stretched far into darkness, and the floor was made of smooth stone. As Leo moved forward, the door behind him closed silently, sealing them inside. He turned back, but the girl was already ahead, walking as if she knew the path. Leo followed, heart beating faster with every step. Where was she leading him? What was this place? Why had the pyramid responded only to him? They walked deeper into the ancient structure, and the silence grew louder. Leo reached out and touched a wall, feeling the hum of energy beneath it. Then he saw something, a reflection in the polished surface. It was him, but not him. Figure wore ancient armor and had eyes glowing like stars. Leo stepped back, shaking his head. This couldn't be real. He turned to ask the girl something, anything, but she had stopped. She stood in front of a massive door, taller than anything Leo had seen. It was covered in symbols and images, and in the center, a human handprint glowing blue. Leo stared at it, his breath caught in his throat. This pyramid wasn't just old, it was waiting for someone. And somehow, it had been waiting for him. ChatGPT said. The light behind them faded as the door sealed shut. Trapping them in silence, Leo stood still for a moment, letting his eyes adjust to the dim glow around him. The air was thick, warm, and carried a strange hum, like something ancient still breathing. The alien girl didn't seem afraid, but she moved slower now, her fingers brushing the wall gently as they walked deeper. Symbols began to light up with each of her steps, but only faintly. As if the pyramid recognized her, but not as its owner, Leo noticed something strange. The air wasn't just humming, it was whispering. He turned his head sharply, thinking the girl had spoken. But her lips hadn't moved. The whispers continued. Soft and strange, in a language he didn't know yet somehow. He understood. It wasn't words being spoken to him. It was memory. A sudden flash hit his mind. Stars spinning, giant ships flying through the void, and cities made of stone and light. Leo stumbled, grabbing the wall. His vision returned, but his heart raced. He looked at the alien girl, wanting to ask her what was happening, but before he could speak, a voice echoed down the corridor, deep and broken. "Why have you come back?" They both froze. Leo's mouth went dry. He whispered, "Did you hear that?" The girl slowly nodded, her eyes wide. The voice repeated, louder this time, "Why have you returned, child of the forgotten?" Leo stepped forward, despite every part of his body telling him to run. The hallway opened into a wide circular chamber. Walls covered in moving lights and floating symbols. A large shape stood in the center, not alive, not machine, but something in between. Its body looked like stone carved into muscle, and its head was shaped like a crown. Its chest held a glowing crystal, beating like a slow heart. "You are not him," the creature said, tilting its head, "but you carry his blood." Leo's throat tightened. He glanced at the girl, who seemed just as confused as him. The creature raised an arm, not in threat, but in recognition. "The door responded to you," it said. "Then you must be tested." Before Leo could ask what that meant, the floor around them began to shift. Stone tiles slid back, revealing deep holes filled with light. Energy rose in streams, wrapping around Leo like smoke. He gasped as more visions filled his head. Humans building this place alongside tall, thin beings with glowing eyes. Pyramids rising on different worlds. A powerful alliance long forgotten. A war, then silence, then ruin. Leo dropped to his knees, overwhelmed. His voice cracked. "What is this place? Who am I?" The creature stepped closer. "You are a spark left from a fire that once lit the stars. You were made for more, but your kind forgot." The girl helped Leo stand, holding his arm. For the first time, her touch felt warm, not cold like before. She whispered something, her first words. "Your people were the first builders." The creature lifted its head and looked toward the ceiling. "Time is short," it said. "The beacon has awakened, and with it, others may follow." Leo didn't like the sound of that. He asked, "Others? What do you mean?" The crystal in the creature's chest pulsed faster. "Enemies of the old alliance. They destroyed the sky towers, silenced the moons, and buried this place in dust." Leo felt the weight of everything pushing down on him. He wasn't ready for this. He came here looking for treasure, maybe history. But now he stood in something much deeper, much older. The creature reached out and pressed something on the wall. Another door opened, this one glowing with strange blue mist. "You must go deeper," it said. "Truth waits beyond the memory chamber." Leo hesitated. But the girl was already walking forward. She turned once and waited for him, her silver eyes calmer now. He followed, not because he understood, but because he had no choice. As they stepped through the glowing mist, Leo heard the whispers again. Only now they didn't frighten him. They welcomed him. "Welcome back," they said. "Welcome back, forgotten son." And with that, the mists swallowed them whole. The mist faded slowly, like a curtain lifting from a forgotten stage. Leo blinked several times, his breath caught halfway in his chest. The air here felt heavier, colder, but strangely clean, like it hadn't been touched in thousands of years. The floor beneath him was smooth and black, reflecting his face like a mirror. But the reflection didn't look right for just a second. The man staring back at him had glowing eyes and strange marks across his skin. He looked away quickly, heart pounding. The alien girl stood beside him, silent again, her gaze fixed on the room ahead. It was vast, larger than any chamber they'd seen so far. Arched ceilings reached up into shadows, and the walls pulsed softly with blue veins of energy. But what caught Leo's attention was the figure standing in the center. It looked like a statue at first, tall and motionless. But then its chest rose and fell, breathing. It was alive. Its body was built like a warrior, part flesh, part stone, arms the size of tree trunks, skin layered with metallic scales. Its face was hidden behind a cracked mask, but golden light shone through the eyes. In its hand was a massive spear made of something that looked like crystal and bone fused together. Leo stepped forward carefully. The girl didn't follow. The creature turned its head slowly, and its voice rumbled like distant thunder. "You have passed the outer rings, child of the second fire." Leo's voice shook. What are you?" The warrior took a step forward, the ground trembling under its weight. "I am the guardian of thresholds," it said. "My task is to protect the memory core from those unworthy of the blood." Leo's stomach twisted. "Memory core?" he asked. The guardian pointed its spear toward the far wall. A large doorway stood there, closed tight, covered in carvings of ancient wars and twin suns. "The truth of your kind sleeps beyond that door," the guardian said. "But only those who prove their memory still lives may pass." The girl stepped beside Leo now, her hand grabbing his arm. Her fingers trembled, and for the first time, she looked scared. "This is wrong," she whispered. This place was supposed to be dead. Leo wanted to agree, but something inside him felt like it was waking up. The whispers from before had returned. "Clearer this time. Show him," they said. "Show him what was lost." The guardian suddenly lifted his spear and struck the ground. The black floor cracked in a circle around Leo. Glowing symbols rising into the air. "You must relive what your ancestors buried," the guardian said, "and survive it." Before Leo could speak, the world around him began to shift. The chamber melted into light and noise. He stumbled back, shielding his eyes, but when he opened them again, he was no longer in the pyramid. He stood on a battlefield. The sky was filled with fire, and giant ships rained energy down on burning cities. Tall beings with silver skin fought alongside humans, both falling in waves. In the distance, a dark fleet approached, shaped like jagged knives. The girl was gone. The guardian was gone. Only Leo stood here, among the dying. He looked down and saw his hands covered in armor, ancient and powerful. His own voice called out from his mouth, but deeper, older. "Hold the line. Protect the core." Leo screamed. But the world didn't stop. He was forced to live through the memory, feel the pain, the fear, the heat. It wasn't just a vision. It was his memory, from another life, another age. And then came the final moment, a blinding flash as the humans destroyed their own weapon to keep it from falling into enemy hands. A city turned to ash, and everything went silent. Leo gasped and fell to his knees. He was back in the pyramid, sweat pouring down his face. The guardian stood over him, unmoving. "You remember," it said. "You were there when the stars burned." Leo couldn't speak. The alien girl rushed to his side, holding his face in her hands. She looked at him like he was someone else. "You're not just a visitor," she whispered. "You're one of them." The guardian stepped aside, its massive hand resting on the sealed door. "Then you may pass," it said. "But know this, if you enter, the path cannot be turned back." Leo looked up at the door. He didn't know what waited beyond it, but something told him it would change everything, and without a word, he stepped forward. ChatGPT said. A low hum echoed around them as the great door slid open. Not with speed, but with slow, grinding purpose. Light poured out, not harsh or blinding, but soft and shifting, like sunlight through water. Leo hesitated at the edge, his shadow long on the polished floor. The alien girl stayed close, her hand almost brushing his, but not quite touching. She looked uncertain now, not because of fear, but because the door had never opened for anyone before. Not even her. As Leo stepped inside, a strange warmth wrapped around him. The chamber beyond was round and endless, with no ceiling he could see. Thousands of floating lights drifted in the air, like fireflies with thoughts of their own. In the center of the room was a pool, calm, glowing blue, with patterns dancing across its surface. He walked toward it slowly, drawn to it like gravity. There were no voices now, no guardians, no warnings, only silence. Thick and deep, he knelt beside the pool and saw something strange. His reflection wasn't just his face. It was faces, many faces, changing one after another. Warriors, builders, scholars, all with his eyes. His hand hovered above the surface, and before the alien girl could stop him, he touched it, the moment his skin met the water. His mind shattered and reformed, not with pain, but with overwhelming knowing. He stood in the middle of a star map now, stars moving, turning, spiraling around him. Each one pulsed with memory, his memory or the memory of someone who came before him, or someone he would become. He saw Earth not as it was now, but as it had been thousands of years ago, green and untouched, and above it giant vessels, human-made, orbiting like guardians. He saw men and women, humans, walking side by side with alien beings of light and shadow. They were equals, creators, explorers, and then fire. The sky burned, alliances broke, weapons turned on their own makers. Something came from the dark corners of space, and everything they built fell. The image faded into another. He saw the pyramid being sealed. This very one, a woman familiar, locking away blueprints, language, and bloodline codes into its deepest layers. She was crying. She looked like him. Then he heard a voice, not in his ears, but in his bones. To remember is to awaken. To awaken is to become. You are not the first, but you may be the last. Leo gasped as the vision ended, and he collapsed beside the pool. The alien girl caught him, holding his head against her chest. He felt her heart racing fast and wild. She didn't ask what he saw, because somehow she already knew. When he opened his eyes, the floating lights above had gathered in a spiral, slowly turning. The water in the pool began to ripple on its own, and the symbols along the wall started shifting. The pyramid had changed, or maybe it had simply awakened. He stood, legs shaking, and looked at the girl. "My people built this," he said quietly, "but we destroyed it too." She nodded, eyes wide. "Then why did the pyramid call you back?" she asked. Before Leo could answer, the spiral of light stopped moving. A low sound began to rise, a pulse, slow and heavy. On the far side of the chamber, a panel slid open, revealing another passageway. But this time, a red glow came from within, and a countdown appeared above the door. The alien girl gasped. "That's a beacon countdown," she said, stepping back. "They've seen the light, and now someone is coming." Leo stared at the numbers ticking down. 10 hours, 10 hours. Until what? His fingers curled into fists. He didn't have all the answers yet, but he knew the story wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. He turned to her and said, "We need to go deeper. We need to find what's at the very core." And without waiting, he walked toward the red-lit corridor, not knowing what waited at the end, only that he had to reach it before the clock ran out. ChatGPT said. The red light from the corridor pulsed like a heartbeat. Slow and steady, Leo stepped into it without a word, and the alien girl followed close behind. Her eyes locked on the countdown ticking above them. The numbers dropped with every breath. 9 hours, 59 minutes, and 55 seconds. The walls around them were no longer made of stone or metal. They were alive. Veins of soft red light pulsed beneath the surface like a living organism holding its breath. Neither of them spoke. The silence between them was louder than words. Leo's footsteps echoed strangely, delayed by a half second. like time itself was bending here. He felt pressure in his ears, in his chest, like the air was too thick, or like something deeper inside the pyramid was watching. They reached a narrow shaft at the end of the corridor. There was no ladder, no elevator, just a sudden drop into darkness. Leo looked down, the red glow barely touching the bottom. He turned to the girl, who gave the smallest nod. Then, without warning, she jumped, vanished into the dark. Leo hesitated. Only a second before he followed. He fell longer than expected. The wind rushed past his ears, then stopped completely. He didn't land. He floated. He was suspended in air, surrounded by lights and symbols flowing in all directions. Then the lights snapped, and he dropped the last meter onto solid ground. The girl stood beside him, pointing ahead silently. He turned, and his breath caught. A vast underground chamber stretched beyond them. It wasn't like the rest of the pyramid. It was colder, darker, and covered in strange pods, tall and sealed with layers of crystal, hundreds of them, standing like statues in formation. Inside each one was a figure, unmoving, but unmistakably not dead. Leo walked slowly between the pods, peering inside. Some held aliens tall, thin, with glowing marks on their skin. Others held humans, or something close. Their armor was old but untouched. Their eyes closed, but they looked alive, suspended in time, waiting. He reached one pod that seemed different. Its walls were thinner, its light pulsed faster. Inside, a woman rested, her face so familiar it sent a chill through him. The same woman from his vision. The one who locked away the truth. She looked like him. She looked like family. The alien girl stepped beside him, whispering, "These are the protectors, built to rise when the beacon is called." Leo turned to her. "Then they're waking up?" he asked. She shook her head. "Only if the beacon completes its signal. Only if you allow it." He felt it before he heard it. A vibration underfoot, soft but growing. From across the room, one pod began to glow brighter than the rest. The crystal cracked and hissed. A figure stepped out, tall, armored, eyes glowing white. It looked around and then locked eyes with Leo. "You've activated the call," it said in a voice like grinding stone. "Then the enemy has seen it." "Two." Leo stepped forward. "What enemy?" he asked, his voice steady. The protector tilted its head. "The ones who ended the stars. The ones who buried you, behind them." The countdown echoed again, 7 hours 22 minutes and 10 seconds. The sound of it made the chamber feel smaller, like time itself was pressing down. Leo looked at the alien girl. "We need to stop the signal," he said. She shook her head slowly. "No," she said softly. "We need to finish what your kind started." The protector raised an arm, and the walls of the chamber lit up. A massive hologram appeared, showing a dark region of space. Ships, hundreds of them, moved through the void like knives, twisted and alive, their engines glowing with sickly green light. They were already coming. Leo stared at the image, his fists clenched. He had awakened something buried for eons, and now something else had heard it. Something dangerous. The protector looked at him with unblinking eyes. "You carry the blood of command," it said. "The key lies in the core. But be warned." "What?" "Waits there will change you." Leo nodded, his voice low. "Then take me there." And so they walked deeper, beneath the pods, beneath the earth, toward the final chamber, where ancient power and truth still slept. The ground beneath them no longer felt like stone. It pulsed faintly, like the heartbeat of something massive buried deep below. Leo moved with purpose now, the protector leading the way, and the alien girl just behind, silent but watching him with eyes full of questions. None of them spoke. Words would only slow them down, and time, according to the countdown echoing through the walls, was bleeding away. They reached a gate unlike the others. No symbols, no glowing runes. Just a flat wall of black obsidian-like material that drank in the light. The protector stopped and turned. "This is the core," it said. "The last piece of your inheritance lies within." Leo stepped forward, his reflection rippling across the smooth black surface. Then the wall reacted to his presence, not with sound or light, but with memory. Suddenly, he wasn't standing in the pyramid anymore. He was in orbit, looking down at Earth, not the Earth he knew, but a shining golden world surrounded by towers in space. Cities floated above clouds, voices sang across oceans, and at the heart of it all stood a single figure, himself, but not himself. This other Leo wore armor that hummed with starlight, and behind his eyes burned the full memory of an entire race. He looked directly at the real Leo, and without speaking, he passed on everything. Blueprints, language, weapons, failures, betrayals, everything humanity once was. Everything that was supposed to be. When Leo opened his eyes again, the wall had vanished. The room beyond was blinding white, like standing inside a star, and in the center of it, floating inches above, the floor was a key, not made of metal, but of living light, shifting and alive. The protector stayed at the edge of the chamber. "You must decide," it said. "Take the key, and you awaken the core fully, but doing so will burn away who you are, and forge something new." The alien girl stepped closer, grabbing his arm. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. "They'll come whether we're ready or not." Leo looked at the key, his heart thundering. He could feel it calling to him, not in sound, but in purpose. It didn't want to control him. It wanted to become part of him. He whispered, "If I don't, everything dies anyway." Then he stepped forward, reached out, and let the key fall into his hand. There was no pain, no scream, only light. It rushed through him like a river of stars, filling every cell, rewriting every part of him. He saw his body lift into the air, glowing veins across his skin, his eyes turning silver like the girl's. The alien girl backed away, tears in her eyes, not of fear, but of awe. When Leo touched the floor again, he wasn't the same. His voice, when he spoke, carried echoes of those who came before. "The core is awakened," he said calmly. "Prepare the defenses." The walls of the chamber cracked open, revealing control panels, ancient weapons, and rising towers above the pyramid surface. Outside, the sand shifted violently as machines buried for millennia stirred and rose. The sky above turned red, not from sunset, but from the distant burn of enemy ships entering orbit. The alien girl stepped beside Leo. "What are you now?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. He looked down at his glowing hand, flexing his fingers like he was feeling them for the first time. "I'm what humanity used to be," he said, "and maybe what it's meant to become." The protector bowed its head. "Then it begins," it said. "The final war, the last defense." Alarms echoed through the pyramid, the countdown in its last hour. Above them, shadows moved across the stars. Leo didn't flinch. He simply turned and said, "Let them come." ChatGPT said. The sky cracked open like a wound. Flashes of green fire streaked across the upper atmosphere, silent at first, then followed by distant thunder that rolled across the dunes. From the top of the ancient pyramid, towers of light rose, like spears pulsing in rhythm with the newly awakened core beneath the earth. Machines long buried stretched their limbs, dust falling from metal like old skin. And at the center of it all stood Leo, no longer just a man, but something ancient, reborn. He looked to the horizon, where shadows moved like waves, enemy ships, hundreds of them, tearing through the air without warning. Their forms were twisted, alive in unnatural ways. Bones and steel merged into beasts of war, the same force that once burned the stars, same force that erased human history from the galaxy. Now it had returned to finish what it started. Beside Leo, the alien girl stared at the sky, her face pale with awe and fear. She had once been told the pyramid was a tomb, a broken ruin with no purpose. Now it roared with life, answering to him, to the one the old world had waited for. The ground shook violently, and from the valley below, the first enemy creatures landed. They were not machines, not fully alive. They crawled like spiders made of black glass and flame. The alien girl stepped back. But Leo raised a hand, and the pyramid responded. Beams of energy shot down from the towers, turning sand to glass and tearing through the enemy ranks. Old defenses awakened. Turrets rising, drones launching, ancient systems humming back to perfect motion as if no time had passed. The pyramid was not just a building, it was a fortress. A last stand carved from memory and pain. Still, the enemy pressed forward. One creature broke through and lunged at Leo with a roar that shook the stone. But Leo didn't flinch. He caught the beast mid-air, his hand burning with light, and crushed it to ash. He turned to the girl. "Get to the inner platform," he said. "I'll hold them here." But she refused. Her voice was strong now, her fear gone. "I didn't come this far to run," she said. "We fight together." Leo gave a small smile, tired but proud. Together they climbed to the top of the pyramid, where the final sequence began. From the sky, enemy motherships dropped closer, unleashing swarms of razor-winged horrors. The countdown reached its final minute, and Leo raised both hands, channeling the core's power through his veins. The light around him expanded until his body was almost gone within it. Ancient systems locked onto him, and the last weapon won. Buried deep beneath the world began to rise. A massive crystalline structure, humming with energy, floated upward, powered by his will alone. The enemy fleet began to scatter, sensing something they couldn't understand. "Now," whispered the girl, her voice barely a breath in the storm. Leo looked into her eyes and saw what he needed: hope. Then he turned his gaze to the sky and unleashed it. A column of white-blue energy shot upward. It cut through clouds, through space, through enemy hulls like fire through paper. The enemy screamed not with mouths, but with broken ships and crashing creatures. They fell from the sky in burning pieces. The air was filled with silence after, not a peaceful one, but the silence of survival. The pyramid dimmed slowly, its job complete. Leo dropped to one knee, steam rising from his skin. The girl rushed to his side, holding him close. He looked weak, fading, but alive. "You stayed," he whispered. "I always would," she answered, holding his glowing hand in both of hers. Above them, the stars returned, clear, calm, untouched, and for the first time in thousands of years, the world breathed again. Leo sat at the top of the pyramid, watching the dawn rise. The war was not over, but the first light of a new chapter had come, and beside him stood the one who showed him the way. Not just an alien girl, but a friend, a witness, and maybe, just maybe, a beginning.